Welcome back to UK Ago, where we break down the stories that governments hesitate to explain and officials refuse to say out loud. And tonight's story is one that has stunned Westminster, rattled Whitehall, and pushed Britain into one of the tensest geopolitical standoffs it has faced in decades. Because breaking just hours ago, Vladimir Putin has reportedly given Keir Starmer 72 hours to respond to a private Kremlin warning, a message so serious that Downing Street officials refuse to even say its contents aloud. This morning, Westminster woke up not to routine political noise, but to absolute chaos. Just after dawn, an encrypted communication from Moscow landed at the Foreign Office. Staff expected the usual: diplomatic complaints, accusations of espionage, protests about sanctions, the same cycle that has played out for years. But what they received was something entirely different. According to several senior government sources, the message was direct, forceful, and delivered with a tone that sent shockwaves through every department that saw it. Whitehall moved instantly. Emergency meetings were triggered before most MPs had even stepped out of their cars. Intelligence chiefs were pulled from their morning briefings. Military commanders were notified without delay. By mid-morning, Starmer's government had shifted into full crisis mode, the type of mobilization normally reserved for active and immediate threats to the UK itself. If this story matters to you, hit subscribe now, because developments are coming by the hour, and many officials fear this situation may escalate before the public even understands what's at stake. Here's what has been confirmed so far. The Kremlin's message accused London of crossing a red line, alleging that the UK took part in certain covert operations that Moscow claims endangered Russian national security and regional stability. And according to intelligence leaks later in the afternoon, the message didn't just contain accusations. It contained demands, coupled with a clear timeline. Downing Street, of course, has avoided confirming any details. The phrase "for national security reasons" has been repeated so often today by ministers, spokespeople, and government lawyers that it no longer sounds like a justification. It sounds like a wall, a shield, a refusal to let the public know what their own government might have entangled the country in. And in politics, silence speaks louder than speeches. Across social media, speculation exploded within minutes. News channels ran breaking banners for hours. Every unanswered question created 10 new theories. And as the government dug deeper into its no-comment strategy, public frustration grew louder and angrier. Inside Parliament, the tension was nuclear from the moment the session opened. Starmer stood at the dispatch box, voice steady but noticeably strained. He claimed the UK had acted within international law. He praised British intelligence. He promised strength and unwavering commitment to national security. But MPs on all sides were not buying it. Conservative MPs demanded an immediate statement of the full facts. Reform UK MPs went further, accusing the government of provoking a nuclear power without any strategy. Even Labour's own backbenchers looked uneasy, shifting in their seats as Starmer repeated the same carefully crafted lines again and again. The chamber boiled over. MPs shouted. Accusations flew. Order broke down. And through all the noise, one question kept echoing through the old stone walls. What exactly was in that Kremlin message? Starmer gave nothing new. Not a sentence. Not an inch. And when the session ended, MPs walked out angrier and more suspicious than they had walked in. But this is where the story turns darker. Multiple sources, speaking anonymously due to the classified nature of the briefings, claim Putin's warning contained a second section, a section that has been completely concealed from the public and even from many MPs. According to these insiders, Russia's demand wasn't just about intelligence operations. It was far more specific, far more dangerous. The Kremlin allegedly wants the UK to withdraw active support from a key Eastern European ally. A move that would fracture NATO unity, shake European security, and signal to the world that British commitments can be pressured, bent, or broken. If true, Starmer faces an impossible choice: comply, and Britain looks weak, unreliable, and easily manipulated. Allies lose faith. Adversaries gain courage. Refuse, and the UK enters direct confrontation with a nuclear-armed state already engaged in the largest European conflict since the Second World War. There is no good option, only bad and worse. Outside Parliament, thousands gathered. Protesters filled Westminster Bridge. Some waved Union Jacks, demanding strength and defiance. Others held signs accusing the government of hiding the truth from its own people. Police lines tightened as crowds pushed forward. Helicopters circled overhead. The country felt tense, unstable, and deeply uncertain. By nightfall, protests had spread to Manchester, Birmingham, and Edinburgh. This was no longer a Westminster story. This was a national one. Then, an unexpected development. Buckingham Palace released a rare public statement. Short, deliberate, unmistakably serious. His Majesty remains fully informed and deeply concerned about the evolving situation. Royal staff moved urgently throughout the day. The king received constant updates. The symbolism was powerful. The crown itself was signaling that this crisis had crossed into territory where silence was no longer possible. Across the Atlantic, the White House moved faster than expected. Within hours, American officials issued a statement backing Britain and condemning Moscow's aggressive rhetoric. But Washington's speed raised its own questions. What did the U.S. know? When did they know it? And why were they prepared to speak publicly before Downing Street was? By late evening, an alarming leak spread. A journalist claimed to have seen the final line of Putin's message, an explicit expectation that Britain respond within 72 hours. No suggestion. No negotiation. A countdown. Government officials refused all comment. Ministers repeated the same lines on every late-night news program. But if the deadline is real, the clock is already ticking, and no one will say what happens when it reaches zero. As London slept, security services quietly elevated the national threat level. No public announcement. No alert. But inside government buildings, encrypted calls began. Military readiness protocols shifted. Senior officials were recalled to their posts. Downing Street stayed lit until the early hours. And now, here is Britain's reality this morning. A foreign power has issued a direct warning. The government refuses to reveal its contents. Allies are watching. Adversaries are calculating. And a possible deadline is approaching with consequences nobody is willing to name. This is no longer politics. This is a test of leadership, transparency, and national resolve. The question is no longer what Putin said, but what Keir Starmer intends to do. Stand firm and risk escalation? Seek negotiation and be called weak? Or continue hiding behind national security while the public demands answers? We don't have those answers yet, but we'll cover every development as it unfolds. Make sure you're subscribed, turn notifications on, and comment below. Should Britain hold its ground or open dialogue before the clock hits zero? This story is far from over.